It's been almost a year since part 2, and I just feel like I should probably actually finish what I began.
Forever gone, and I will miss the times we had and always will. Think of the life that might have been. You left us all so soon, and yeah. Now you're gone, and I sure miss the times we had and always will. Think of the life that might have been. If only I could see you for one more day. For one more day.
I am sorry this took a lot longer than it was meant to. God, it's so hard to explain what it is with Pokemon. It's such a difficult subject for me. Because as I've reiterated in the last 2 parts, Pokemon, like, transcends just being a game. I mean, honestly, it does in itself. As I've explained, it was a total multimedia, like, massive phenomenon. It wasn't just a game. So talking about the games as just games is incredibly difficult, especially with all the personal stuff I've shared with you so far. But now we can really get down to business here, because this is where a lot of the personal trauma tends to go away, because Gen 6 came along after I was out of school. Therefore, there were no bullies present. Well, there's online jerks. There's actually a lot of those. All of you can fight me, by the way. I just want you to know that. Gen 6 actually had me legitimately excited again. While I admit I was super disappointed with 5, and even though I liked them, I acknowledged that they were flawed in many respects. However, Gen 6 looked like it was really throwing the series into overdrive. To begin with, this is in 3D! Like, the whole game, which they had not attempted up until this point, at least not in the main series, and certainly not on a handheld, but the 3DS tapped into the power of the third dimension to a degree not seen before. Except on the PSP. Which... shut up. Okay, look, we're not getting into console wars right now. The 3DS has been a great console. Also, they just discontinued it. You monsters. But yeah, Gen 6 had me really excited. Pokemon X and Y. The story centers around Team Flare. They want to make the world beautiful, because the world is ugly. I don't really get the logic with this one, and frankly, this story gets really dark. I'm not even gonna spoil it for you. Like, this is way darker than I've ever seen a Pokemon story really go, at least in the games. But from a gameplay perspective, I really enjoyed Gen 6. Some people complain about it because they feel that from a content perspective, there's not a lot there. You know, visually the game is great, the music is awesome, and, you know, it still follows the, basic points that have been established when it comes to Pokemon up until this point. Fight the gyms, get through, catch all the Pokemon, the new Pokemon look great, all that's fine. However, I think everyone's issue is more that it doesn't go too far beyond the safe zone. And I get that, but at the same time, there's some beauty in the simplicity, and I think that's why I like Gen 6 so much. It was a return to form. It didn't try too many super experimental things. It was still just plain old Pokemon, just in the third dimension with a beautiful world based on France. Bonjour! To explore and catch new creatures and talk to people and fight gyms and do the Elite Four like we always did. It was a fun experience. Oh, right, there is the minor point of the Mega Evolutions. These were awesome. I love the concept of Mega Evolutions. To begin with, it was giving more evolutions to Pokemon that hadn't evolved in forever. Plus, it was a new battle mechanic. I mean, it was just something you could do. You could have 1 Mega Evolution per battle, and it would make the Pokemon ridiculously strong. And it was a cool idea to mix up the combat that had remained up until that point, pretty much the same. You have to admit that. It was a good idea, and I really, really liked it. I love seeing the new designs, I love having the new mechanics, and I like the fact that besides that, it was still the same classic fun Pokemon experience. As a G1er, as I've already established I really am, it was nice to see a return to form for the series, while still adding on something new. I loved these games. I thought they were great. The new legendaries looked awesome. The characters and the gym leaders and everything else were great, and it was a joy to play. If there's anything to complain about, well, I concede that the post-game is basically non-existent. Which, yeah, that's troubling, considering well, the previous games did a pretty good job of having stuff to do after the Elite Four, whereas Gen 6 was kind of weak in that department. Beyond that, my only other issue is that there were no sequel games at all, or even remake game. Which is annoying, because it set up the two legendaries, you know, based on the letters X and Y, and there was a third legendary, who is obviously based off of Z. And I just feel like he deserved his own game, and they just ignored that. And it bothers me to this day that we never got a Pokemon Z. What we did get were Pokemon Alpha Ruby and Omega Sapphire, remakes of Gen 3, as I did mention in the last part. I don't have a lot to say about them, because they are just remakes of Gen 3, and as an Alpha Pokemon fan who was never super Omega into Gen 3. Haha, you see what I did there? I'm hilarious! Please don't unsub. I myself wasn't super crazy about them, but they were really great games that fixed a lot of flaws with Gen 3 while still retaining the classic structure of those games. And I hear from a lot of people whose Gen 3 is their favorites, love the remake. So hey, there's that. Moving swiftly forward, what about Gen 7? Alola! Pokemon Sun and Moon, welcome to the Alola region. That's definitely not Hawaii. Okay, it is. These ones... Okay, these are weird for me. I like them. They're good games, but I had such a hard time getting into them. I felt like the first part of these games were just super slow. Like, it was advertised as being this whole, like, reimagining of how Pokemon was supposed to work. Like, they're gonna get rid of all the gyms, it's gonna be new, you know, challenges, you know, it's gonna be completely different, even though the Kahunas are pretty much just gym leaders. And yeah, there's the Pokemon, you know, challenges and everything in there that were really cool, but ultimately it still was Pokemon. Like, it wasn't that different. I'm just saying. Oh, you want to say, well, we added the Z moves. Yeah, you know, compared to Mega Evolution, I honestly felt like the Z moves were pretty weak. I mean, they were cool, don't get me wrong, but like, compared to like a brand new evolution for a Pokemon, super moves that a lot of Pokemon are able to share just don't seem as cool to me. Maybe that's just my opinion. I know a lot of people really enjoyed them, and I'm not judging here, but I don't know. I just felt like X and Y were a lot better in terms of the wow factor. Don't get me wrong, I do like Sun and Moon, as well as their sequels. Well, they're not even sequels, they're like remakes. Released a year after. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are friggin' weird, alright? I'll explain in a second. They're all good games, and I really do like them, and I still play them to this day, actually, because, you know, the way you were able to manage your Pokemon with the addition of the Pokebank that was late to the game the previous generation, but still got there, now letting us easily transfer Pokemon between games, really helped a lot. The Pokemon Pelego was really cool, the islands were beautiful, and yes, it wasn't a, you know, complete mix-up like Gamefreak said it was gonna be, but I just got done saying I liked X and Y because it was simple, so it being way more similar to old Pokemon like I expected really wasn't the worst thing in the world to me. Also, the idea of regional variants was a really cool concept, and I did like that. And the plots of all the games were pretty interesting and a lot of fun, so I liked them. As I said, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, the sequels but not sequels, are friggin' weird, because up until halfway into them, they're literally the same game as Sun and Moon. There's basically no changes in terms of the plots. The second half is like completely different. Also, the post-game is different, but way more awesome. I will give you that. So what do I recommend here, I guess? Is there a reason to play Sun and Moon and just avoid Ultra Sun and Moon, or the reverse, just get the, you know, new versions? I would say Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are superior, but because of the plot differences, the original Sun and Moon are almost worth it on their own if you really care about stories. As for which one's canon, who frickin' knows? They're all good games, so whatever. Also, we really need to talk about Guzma for a second, because oh my god. So the villainous team in Sun and Moon is Team Skull, which for the most part is a total joke compared to previous teams, but oh my god, their leader Guzma is me when I get way older. And I kid you not. Like, it was like, for me, dealing with all my personal trauma when it came to Pokemon and then seeing a dude like Guzma pop up, I'm like, oh my god, this is what I will become. I'm just gonna be the angriest, edgiest jerk who's just gonna come around and just... I love Guzma. From the get-go, he's awesome, but then at the same time, he's one of the few villainous team leaders that actually has a redemption arc. He turns out to be not a bad guy deep down. He just suffers from past trauma and abusive childhood, and he just can't stand the notion of being weak all the time. He just wants to be strong, but he doesn't know how to do it, and he doesn't know how to express himself because he never got the chance to learn. So he turned out to be a kind of a jerk. Gamefreak, you don't have to come at me like that. So, long story short, all these games I absolutely adored. Visually, they're gorgeous. The soundtrack is great. The gameplay is fun. And while I admit in some aspects they're flawed, I still play them, like I said. So, hey, you can't complain too much. Before I move on to Gen 8, I suppose people are curious if I consider the Let's Go games part of the main series Pokemon games. I do not. They're pretty much just remakes of Gen 1. There's some minor plot variations, obviously, but for the most part, it's the same script, just with some names swapped out. Ultimately, my opinion of them is that these are clearly made for younger Pokemon fans just getting into the series, so they can experience the original magic of Kanto. And they're great games, and, you know, making them, like, share data with Pokemon Go was a really great idea. Yeah, I guess I should probably bring up Pokemon Go, which was the runaway success mobile app for Pokemon, where you could walk around the real world and catch Pokemon. Admittedly, I think it's a little overrated. I do think it was fun, I played it for a long time, and they've added a ton of stuff since then, so it's a lot better now. But it's just one more thing to show how dominant Pokemon is as a culture. Like, honestly, I don't think any other series would ever get away with such a simple app. But Pokemon did, because we just wanted to walk around and catch Pokemon. Pokemon fans don't care. It's just one of those things. Anyway, you're probably wondering my opinions on Gen 8 now, as it is the most recent generation to come out, and therefore is the one that, I might have more to say, because I probably played it very recently. I haven't played Gen 8. Okay, you're wondering why. Let me explain. So, here's the thing about Pokemon nowadays. I still love Pokemon, and I still play Pokemon games, but Pokemon, because it's more than a game to me, and has become something else entirely, and with all the history involved with it from a personal level, this is one of the things I can share with my kid. Me and my son play Pokemon together all the time. In fact, the first Pokemon game I played with him was me restarting my data on Pokemon Y. It was one of the ways I taught him to read when he was like 2, because he loved all the little characters, he loved seeing the game move around, but he couldn't read the text, so I would sit there with him and read to him. And he loved it. And to this day, the boy is a massive Pokemon fan, probably a bigger one than me. And to be honest, if we're gonna do a review of Gen 8, I should probably bring him in and have him talk to you, because I don't even know most of the new Pokemon's names right now. He knows all of them. He's me. When I was that age. And it's just one of those beautiful things about being a parent. You can watch your kid get the same amount of joy and wonder out of something that brought you the same kind of emotions when you were that age. It's not a thing I can say about a lot of other properties. Pokemon transcends gaming and becomes something more than that. You know, it's something to be shared, something to be, loved and appreciated, and, the messages that it delivered to us about friendship, doing the right thing, always sticking by those you believe in and those you love and trust. These are messages that carry over into real life too. And ultimately, it shaped a lot of us to be better people. And I think it's not something a lot of game series or even any kind of franchise can say. And it's true, there's a lot of other series that have come along and have made solid impressions on me over the years, but Pokemon is just in its own little universe. It's in its own category. And it's one of the ones I can truly share with my son. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. Also, specifically regarding Gen 8, I was waiting for him to finish playing them first because it's his Nintendo Switch, so they're his games, therefore I wanted him to be able to play them before I did, and then he dropped his Switch in the toilet. And I don't have enough money to replace it. So, yeah, that's, that kind of put a little damper on the whole playing Gen 8 thing. Parenthood, everybody! Maybe I'll talk about Gen 8 some other time. But until that time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.